Good afternoon, everybody. On this Monday, March 17th, 2025, I've got all of your stories for your rush hour ride to work. Coming to you from my mobile studio set up in West Hollywood. I'll be doing a handful, I think 5 or so podcasts this week, so plenty of content coming your way. And on this episode, we've got former Bachelor star Rachel Kirkconnell absolutely thriving after getting dumped by her boyfriend, Matt James, in Japan. I'll share what she has to say. And speaking of former bachelorettes, Jen Tran also roasting her haters. And a current bachelorette, Pam Anderson, and Liam Neeson, she discussed their new relationship. I meant to get to this last episode, but we ran out of time. So we'll cover that. Plus Blake Lively's subpoena problems. She's got a big problem. People are saying, where did the subpoenas come from that led to the text messages being revealed? Will they even be admissible in court? And what's this New York Times video have to do with free speech? So I'll have all of that, plus the astronauts give their final float. You like that alliteration? Final float as they come back to Earth. We'll share that speech. And the United States Postal Service got doged. Didn't think the mail was getting to you on time before. Giddy up, folks. All these stories and more happening right now on The Rush. Well, I hope you're enjoying your St. Patrick's Day. If you're single out there, trust me when I say it's the easiest day to go get some nookie. You just go to the bar, you say, "Kiss me, I'm Irish," and the next thing you know, you find a 4-leaf clover. But in the meantime, on this show, we'll continue to cover some stories that are inspiring love, one in which is Pam Anderson, one of my favorite people. She's following in the route of Perez Hilton and Britney Spears in this sense that she was kind of overly sexualized. That's what she was, right? In her Baywatch days. And now she's stripping it down. She's not wearing makeup to the premiere. She's looking more beautiful than ever. And she's just gardening and doing her own thing. Some even say the Meghan Markle Netflix show was kind of ripped off from the lifestyle that Pam Anderson is living. I'm here to not gatekeep. Anybody can live that lifestyle if you want. We can all go back to gardening. It's quite peaceful, isn't it? Working with your hands. Well, Liam Neeson might be working with his hands, as it looks like, and I don't even have a metaphor for that. I meant with a massage, but you take with that what you want. He may be dancing the former Baywatch lady. Here is a clip from this interview where she says they're madly in love.
Were you able to share your love of cooking with Liam? Did you share any recipes or bond over food?
Oh, yes. I mean, the way to a man's heart is through, food. And he fell in love with my bread.
I'll be honest, she's 1,000% right. You feed a lady, you flush out your dopamine. And by the way, if you're Liam Neeson, I hope that she's taken his heart. Do you like what I did there? If he doesn't, if his opening line isn't, "I've got a particular set of skills that will make your toes curl," if that's not the opening line, I don't know what is.
Muffins and cookies. And we really bonded. We really fell madly in love on the set, and can't wait to do this promotional tour with him. We're going to have a blast. He's so funny. I mean, the movie, I don't know. I was literally running into walls, something I've always wanted to do.
It's on everyone's bucket list, right?
Yeah, there's a trick to it.
All right, so, okay, I don't even know if they're dating or not, but either way, he's got everything you want in a man. He's like 6'6". He's got an accent, he's Irish, and he's got one of those Nordic noses. Don't all ladies love a man with a prominent nose, right? I don't know, maybe not, whatever. But either way, and by the way, Liam Neeson deserves love. He had that terrible story with his wife. Didn't his wife die after a skiing accident? Just terrible stuff. So whether it's rom-coms like Love Actually or movie series like Taken, we love him. And good for Pam Anderson for really charging her way back into the world here. All right, well, charging her way back from rubble is Rachel Kirkconnell. She's here to say, "I'm sorry, folks. I'm doing just fine. I'm thriving." I have long accused Rachel Kirkconnell of being the most beautiful person to ever come out of Bachelor Nation. I stand by that. Not that we're judging people by their looks, but she seems to be the full package. And I think Bachelorette should literally open their wallet and pay her more than they've ever paid anyone if they want to have a great revival of the show. I don't know if we're going to get that. I don't think she's going to trust the show, but either way, good to hear that she's doing fine after Matt James dumped her in Japan.
I am, again, still, processing everything, figuring it out. I will say, I think a lot of people think that I have feelings of remorse or regret or frustration or that I'm like just very, very heartbroken. And I think that I have to remind myself that, there was no time wasted, and that I'm very thankful for everything that I went through, for what we both went through. I think at the very end of the day, a relationship, along with like all of the great, memories and fun times and things you've done, it also gives you so many life lessons. And I feel like I did grow up a lot within the last few years. And I think that from things that I would take away would just be standing up for myself a bit more, and just not losing your confidence, or like not putting yourself aside for someone else. I think it's really easy to get lost on like putting yourself first at times, or making sure that you're being seen and heard. So I would definitely make sure I'm still prioritizing myself.
And you know what? That's what happens when you get out of a relationship when it doesn't work. You prioritize yourself, you double down. Hey, God's like, oh, you're going to feel a little sad. I'll let you lose 7 pounds. You look hot as hell. And then you come out and you do some collaborations with a fashion company, right? So here she is. These photos going viral as Rachel Kirkconnell absolutely thriving as she promotes some different dresses here. Showpo.com. I don't know who they are, but either way, they're very smart to collaborate with the fashion icon coming out of Bachelor Nation. All right, did we grease the wheels up enough to try to get an interview from Rachel Kirkconnell? I only live a few hours away from Atlanta, Georgia, which I believe is one of her residents. So, hey, tag her in this video or podcast and let her know we need an interview. We don't even have to talk about Matt James. Let's talk about career girls. We have a boss lady, as it's called. All right, from one boss lady to another, let's go to Jen Tran. Tonight is the fantasy suite episode of The Bachelor, which is probably normally the best one. Looking at you, a Bachelor, Zach, where people can get themselves into trouble. Listen, this season has been an utter disaster. It's just not good. The difference between good, not good, and great can be as little as one dramatic element, and this season just doesn't have it so far. It may get there, like Jen Tran's season, right? Her season was very boring until the end, and then it delivered. It was the delivery was late, as we'll see by the USPS Doge cuts, but the delivery did arrive, and it came wild. Her story with Devin and how that all ended. But Grant, I don't see that happening, and it really goes to show this show has to bring it. I actually relate it to this. It's like stand-up comedy. You can be a famous comedian and get a standing ovation when you take the stage, like Jerry Seinfeld. But if you're not funny, if you don't bring it, within 2 minutes, audiences will be like, nope. They truly will, because they need to feel what you're doing out there. The Bachelor doesn't have that with Grant's season. I don't blame Grant. I have no idea what caused it. They have lost their spark. So much so that I'm watching trash TV like Temptation Island. Oh my gosh. Are you guys watching Temptation Island on Netflix? Holy cow, this show is insane. It's like every episode is a fantasy suite times 4 with your girlfriend watching. It's 4 couples that go to a fantasy island, Temptation Island, I should say. And that maybe the fantasy suite should just be Fantasy Island. So they go to Temptation Island and they put themselves in rigorous situations with a bunch of hot and oiled up men and women. And then they eventually, for the most part, cheat. I don't know. You'll have to see how this season works out, but the cheating pretty much happens. And then they have to watch it. It's absolutely insane. It's really the sort of low in reality TV, but it's way more real than what we watch on the fantasy suite, because on the Bachelor, Bachelorette, there's no temptations, right? It's one polygamous relationship. The women don't have anyone to wait, date, so they're waiting, and you just hope that you picked the right one. Well, Jen picked the wrong one in Devin. It ended horribly, and she's responding to comments. Someone said Jen can acknowledge that she is still very immature. She had plenty of good guys and didn't even like Devin that much, but still chose to settle. Here's her response to that.
For the last time, please, Pickleball Princess, please let this comment go. It was 6 months ago, more than 6 months ago, that this even happened. Actually, a year ago now, because I left for filming a year ago. And I'm sick and tired of being judged for dating on national television. Okay, I get it. I signed up for it, but I'm done. I'm done. Because just because there are plenty of good guys on my season does not mean that I needed to marry each and every single one of them. Okay?
Well, so to be fair, I agree with everything Jen's saying here, but I think audiences didn't like the public relations that came out of it because she's kind of funny. And so she kind of like made fun of those guys. Like, I didn't have anyone to choose from, when in fact there were really good guys on the season. So she did shade her guys, which is kind of like a big no-no on the show. But with that said, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? She chose a guy and it didn't work out. And my whole thought, even though he is wildly toxic, is that they were, they're like living in that I hate to sound so old, but like that Gen Z world where everything's on social media. And again, I do several podcasts a day. I have a lot on social media too, but you got to know when to put your phone down and be in a relationship. The troubling part is you come out of that show and you want to capitalize on the TikToks and the Instagrams, but then it's like, are you working or are you playing? Which is it? And I think that relationship, amongst a lot of other things, suffered from a lot of neediness that comes. We saw that with Rachel Recchia, and I think she'd be the first to admit it. You're not allowed to really be out and about with your partner. You're isolated, probably in a new town. You have all of the whole recipe exists for you to be really codependent and have an anxious attachment. And with cell phones and social media, the amount of anxious attachment that's going on out there is insane. I mean, look, I get it. I'm anxiously attached, but my point is, if you're a psychologist, get in or want to be a psychologist, you'll have plenty of work coming out with all of the phone addictions we have, and bachelorettes are not immune to that. But either way, she took a shot with Devin, didn't work, and she's allowed to move on with her life. We're happy for her. But this idea, and Jen needs to know this, and I'm sure she gets it. You're not going to be able to change everyone's mind. You're not. The internet is a place for people to mischaracterize you as much as they want. I hate to say it, you'll never change their opinions, and you almost have to pretend like those people don't exist. I had that in a comment thread on Instagram where people were calling me like white boy and whitey and fragile masculinity and things like that. You just can't let it affect you, because who the hell are they, right? You just have to go, okay, cool, I'm gonna go on with my life and keep thriving. I don't have time for you. So Jen, my advice, don't have time for them. Keep thriving the way that Rachel Kirkconnell is, and Rachel Recchia too, and you'll be just fine. All right, so we'll get into the Blake Lively story right after we share this trailer for tonight's episode of the Fantasy Suite. I can tell you guys publicly, I will be at a watch party tonight with Game of Roses in Los Angeles, California. That's not why I traveled here. I'm going to be doing some other podcasts you guys might know. Not Nick's. I'll be doing a Juicy Scoop and Zach Peter and Donna Bowling and a couple of my comedy friends. So we'll have a little bit of everything. But tonight at 33 Taps in Silver Lake, which by the way has really good food. That's the place I went to get wings with Reality Steve, and he ordered them dry. What a psychopath, right? Either way, here. So that's where I'll be tonight. But here's the preview for tonight's episode of The Bachelor's Fantasy Suite.
3 women, 2 roses, 1 Grant, and a whole lot of thoughts going in my head. This week is overnights.
Are you ready for an engagement?
I'm like a little broken.
I'm scared of getting hurt too.
Because of the limited time we've had together, I actually don't know that much about you.
Some of the things that you said do have me worried a little bit.
I think that you're a very good guy, but...
There it is tonight, The Bachelor. And this might be interesting. You have one contestant on the final 3 who's Mormon, and how will her religious outlook affect herself? Will she forego her individual rooms? We'll have to see. If Grant pulls a Matt James and says, hey, no one's getting the nookie, how will that work out? It worked out for Matt James until it didn't. But either way, we'll see how he plays it. I mean, it can't get any worse than it's been in the past seasons. And I think Fantasy Suite has really lost its luster now that, with the height of social media and everyone judging everyone so much, it's like, is it really a Fantasy Suite, or does it come with repercussions? What happens in the Fantasy Suite stays there until you become Zach Shall Cross and you tell everybody afterwards. All right, so let's go to Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively. A lot of things going on, and I'm trying to play catch up with it as I've been traveling, which, by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're checking this audio out, I bring my whole setup. I'll take a photo and post it on my Instagram, D Neals, but I got a ring light. I've got 3 3 monitors. I've got all of the good pro audio. So I am here to deliver to you guys crystal clear audio for your listening and viewing pleasure. So anyhow, we're going to get into this subpoena issue. As you know, Blake Lively's entire case really was cracked open because she received these text messages that were from the PR agency that was no longer working with Justin Baldoni. And people have said, how can they get a subpoena if there was no open sort of court number? You need a case number in order to subpoena somebody. When I was trying to get a subpoena from Patreon, when I was kind of being stalked, you guys might remember this story with the Clayton Echard situation where I had someone posing as a black journalist. They were a white Jewish Catholic woman. You do the math on that one. I don't know. She was faking her pregnancies and stalked me as a black journalist named Chase Jones. And when I went to Patreon to get them to share the information with me, they said we can't do it without a subpoena. And then my lawyer said, well, we can't get a subpoena unless we file a lawsuit against her, which is going to cost like $500 to file it. And I was like, all right, just hold off on it. Well, within a week, she sued me for harassment, which opened a case, which meant I could get a subpoena. I did. And of course, Patreon did not help me out at all because on the lower level, people don't necessarily respond to subpoenas, even though they should. They're not really compelled to. They can just ignore it. And they do that politically. You'll see people ignore subpoenas, and unless someone enforces it, it just happens, I guess. But either way, in this case, since it's going to trial and there's hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, it begs the question. Someone asked this lawyer, no one has been able to answer how Blake Lively was able to get a subpoena for the text messages from Jones if a lawsuit was not in motion yet. Would you know the answer? And by the way, I found this clip on Reddit, and it is not crediting the creator. We have to start crediting creators because I have no idea who this is. But if someone could let me know, I'll definitely credit them on the next video. Here's this lawyer's nuanced response on how do you get text messages without the subpoena?
To get a subpoena, you need to be in active litigation. You need a docket number. You need a case caption. There needs to be an active case. And my understanding, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but is that the CRD, the California Civil Rights Division, that the administrative agency in those cases has the authority to issue a civil subpoena, but the individual parties do not. And these text messages, which apparently were obtained via subpoena, were included in the initiating document. So unless there was some sort of period between when the case number, docket number, everything was assigned and when the complaint was filed, I don't see that being the case either.
So there's different theories that are floated on how they could have gotten these text messages, but it really comes down to not if the text messages exist, but are they allowed in court? Because they're just like, you can't just share some private text messages if there's some sort of contract, like a non-disclosure agreement or things like that. Again, I'm no expert, but it might be the type of thing where the law gets really specific on this case. There's obviously been a lot of coordination between the New York Times, Blake Lively, and the PR agency that leaked Blake Lively these text messages. The PR agency essentially got rid of their employee, kept their phone hostage, and went through their text messages to find all of this out. Otherwise, we would have never had all of this juicy information. With all of that said, was it done legally or not? And we don't know that yet. Here is the video that was accompanied by the New York Times article, which was released and has left a lot of people wondering, boy, how could they have edited this entire video in the time frame so they knew they were going to have this video going, whether Justin Baldoni responded or not? Like it must have been ready to go. But as far as defamation goes, this lawsuit will involve this video. As we've seen now, Justin Baldoni's side, Brian Friedman, power attorney, who, by the way, I'd love to interview while I'm in Los Angeles. So everyone send him an email and let him know Dave Neal's in town. Let's do a quick 30. Why not? Why don't you? I'll get you on your lunch break, Brian. Don't bill me. But either way, this could be the aspect where there's more defamation in it, because there are moments where they speak as fact, not as opinion. And I'm going to share what Andy from Popcorn Planet had to say, but let's just have a listen to this, the beginning of this video, which was released as part of their entire multimedia package of that article in late December called "The Waging of an Alleged Smear Campaign Against Blake Lively." Did they call it an alleged smear campaign before? Have a listen.
With Us, starring Blake Lively, was a huge box office hit, even as rumors spread of turmoil behind the scenes. In a legal complaint Lively filed on Friday, Private text messages and other documents that we've obtained reveal what really happened.
What really happened, not what we think happened.
A campaign to tarnish Lively after she alleged that Justin Baldoni, her co-star and director, and Jamie Heath, the producer, had engaged in misconduct while shooting the film, a story about breaking the generational cycle of domestic violence. Among other allegations, Lively claimed that Baldoni had engaged in improvised...
All right, so then they get into the allegations, but there are aspects of this where the lawyers are going to argue, is this protected under free speech? And of course, this is Megan Twohey, the investigative journalist, Pulitzer Prize winning, by the way. And here is what Popcorn Planet had to say. You can go check out this full video called Smoking Gun Against New York Times. Huge potential win for Justin Baldoni. So is this the moment? And we'll have to find out.
A legal complaint Lively filed on Friday. Private text messages and other documents that we've obtained reveal what really happened.
So right there, Chris, that's not an opinion. That's not a maybe. That's not a what really happened. Now, is that going to be problematic for them moving forward?
Well, it's significant. So in the United States, where this lawsuit is pending, it's very difficult to sue a journalist, media outlet, because we have this First Amendment protection for the press. And that's super important because powerful people, would be able to destroy a journalist or media outlet by suing them for defamation or libel and keep them from reporting the truth. And so we have given, as a matter of policy, massive protections for the media and other journalists to fairly comment on stories that have not been proven to be true yet or not, so we can get this word out here. Now, and that's what the New York Times is coming back and saying, look, we're not Blake Lively. We're not the ones making the allegation. We're just fairly reporting on what Blake is suing Justin and Wayfarer for. And if that's all they did, they would be absolutely protected. But that's not what happened. According to this video that we're seeing, that clip, they're going in vouching for the story.
And that's what it comes down to, right? So good stuff here by Andy at Popcorn Planet with Christopher Melcher. But yeah, they're vouching, they're co-signing the story. They're presenting it almost as Blake Lively's defense, not as journalists. Again, they'll probably get off on this, but still very interesting to see. All right, well, I'm going to come back with some astronaut updates and the USPS getting doged. We'll have that next. Well, we have the astronauts finally heading back after what was supposed to be a week-long trip. It's been like 9 months. And here is Suni, I believe is her name, giving her final speech aboard the International Space Station as she transferred power to the Russian cosmonauts. Have a listen here.
All right. Hey, just wanted to say thank you to everybody around the world, all the control centers, friends and family who are out there, all our trainers, all of the folks who have got us ready to come here and fly in space. It's a huge undertaking, and a huge thank you specifically for Butch and I to be joined into this International Space Station crew. I know that was a lot of trust and a lot of willingness to let us not only be part of the crew, but also lead the crew. So we are absolutely thankful for that opportunity, and hopefully we did you proud. To next commander, Alexei, thank you for your za druzhba, za komandrovka, and I promise you, we are actively trying to find the passage back to the place we were before.
Wow. The passage back to the place we were before. The thing I love about space travel is it's so apolitical. There we have a Russian and an American having a conversation, trying to find back to the passage, trying to find a passage back to the place they were before. That is just beautiful, isn't it? So we hope that they come home, and maybe this is a sign that there are bigger things to the world than fighting over arbitrary borders. A border in which Russia was the one who invaded Ukraine. So I'm not saying that they're not part of the problem, but the astronauts, the cosmonaut. Why do they call them cosmonauts, not astronauts? Either way, not part of that problem. They're in space, enjoying life. All right, USPS got doged. They've signed an agreement with Doge to cut their workforce. Before I play the clip, I'll just say this. Most things in the government are not meant to make a profit. So when you say, oh, we have this big loss, well, the U.S. Postal Service exists to get the mail to every person, right? If it was run by a capitalistic venture, there'd be islands you wouldn't want to go to, or that old lady who lives in that town that's at the edge of things that aren't practical, but they go everywhere. And that's important because we all need to be connected. I mean, for mail-in voting and getting your alerts for the ballots and things like that, we all need to be connected. It's already kind of on the fritz. So what is this going to do? And again, every organization can have more efficiency, but what will this do to the USPS moving forward? We will see. Have a listen to this clip from ABC 7 Chicago.
The U.S. Postal Service signed an agreement with the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, in preparation to cut its workforce by 10,000 employees. In a letter to Congress, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy said there will be voluntary buyouts within the next 30 days. The Postal Service has roughly 600,000 workers. The agency has been exempt from the Trump administration's efforts to downsize the federal government.
And just remember, folks, as we wrap this up, that all of the issues with our debt can be solved by taking money out of the military-industrial complex and by taxing rich people accordingly. The upcoming tax cuts are going to take $4 trillion, which is like putting multiple football stadiums in every county in the United States, right? It's a lot. It's going to take that money that was supposed to be fairly taxed to the ultra wealthy, right? People that make over $1 million, and it's just going to disappear. So they're going to retain that wealth, and we're going to be nickel and diming all of us as we duct tape the leaks on our yacht. That's what we're doing. We're duct taping the leaks, hoping it all stays up, saying, well, we're going to cut this, and we're going to cut $1 million that went to trans blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. When in fact, that was only a small percentage of the budget, and the real money that could be saved isn't, as the new budget moving forward actually increases the defense spending. And they said they were going to audit it. We are anxiously waiting. So that's where we live, folks. Let's live in a reality where that's just not happening. The rich are getting richer, and the middle class, who I'm fighting for, are not. We are actually going to be paying more in taxes. That's what we voted for, but we can raise hell, and we can go to town halls, and we can speak to our neighbors and friends and family, and we can say, is this the world we want moving forward for our children? And if you don't think so, then fight like hell to make change. All right, that's it for me. Aaron Go Bra. Hope you have a good St. Patty's Day. I'll be back in the morning. As always, I'm Dave Neal, and this is The Rush.